was major. You could see smoke for miles drifting throughout the city. You could see it from Oakland, probably from the Oakland Hills. We also did a quick tour through Oakland to assess the damage in the city. We saw a lot of broken glass. There was one church at the corner of 40th and Martin Luther King, and it's in danger of collapsing at this point. The police have cordoned off the area, and they're not even letting people walk in front of it for fear if the wall comes down, it'll come down on the sidewalk and anyone who's walking by. Downtown does look like it's a mess. People are calm, we should add right now. People are calm. We've just seen, though, dozens of people trying to get on buses to get home, lined up at payphones, trying to contact people to tell them that they're okay and how to get them because BART has shut down. AC Transit's obviously taxed at this point. Power's out around the lake, many businesses, so people are just basically milling around the streets right now. And when you were up on the Cypress, there are people still there, as we understand. It's been 2.5 hours, and maybe David Kears can fill us in on what they're getting in terms of emergencies here at Highland Hospital.
David Kears is with us from Highland. They've been told, I understand, 30 critical cases expected from there, but that's real preliminary, right?
Yeah, because see, we don't have any direct communication with the command center, so we get our information through Eden Hospital. Eden Hospital is coordinating all the ambulance traffic now, and they will send them to the appropriate hospitals. We think there's about 30 critical care cases we expect. We're getting them now 2 at a time in the ambulance.
What's the situation at the hospitals in the East Bay? Are you up? Are you operating? Can you take people what? We
can take them, but there's a limited capacity in most of the Oakland hospitals. Our CAT scanners are down because of the electrical problems, as you can see behind you here. So we have some limited capacity in who we can take. But Eden will redirect all the patients based on what the services are available in the hospital. We believe if they're 30, we'll be able to absorb that 30. We're doing everything we can. We've discharged about 20 people from this hospital so far today. All the staff are just coming in, and all the physicians, all the nurses are coming in droves to prepare up for the emergency.
Once again, having been at the scene of the Cypress superstructure, it is going to be some time before they can get in there because the entire upper deck has collapsed on the lower deck, so it'll be some time before they can get in and get people out, even if they are injured in there. They're going to need some heavy equipment somehow, and they were calling that in. They had set up a triage center at West Grand and at Cypress to determine the severity of the injuries and send them off, and of course some of them will be coming here. And Sherry, as you were saying, when we drove through downtown Oakland, coming from the Cypress area back over here, we saw new structures and old structures, and you just couldn't say why, but randomly walls would be down and spotty damage all over the place. We understand downtown Oakland's about the same.
Absolutely. We've only touched on Berkeley and Oakland right now. We have Supervisor Don Parada of Alameda County. Maybe he can give us a better assessment of what's going on countywide.
Well, currently we haven't sustained the kind of damage that they're reporting out of San Francisco right now, but our emergency systems are operating. When one system goes down, another one is opening up. The main thing is we've got to get power back on here so we can service the hospital, and police radios are relatively quiet right now, but I think it's really important for people just to stay home and not go out. There's no spectator value here. There's a lot of injured people coming from the Cypress alone, and we need to be able to facilitate the transport to the people who are injured. But so far, it seems like even though it's really rocked and rolled here, that we're not sustaining the kind of damage that they have in the city.
There is a situation there, too, that we did see. There are some down power lines in that area. There's a lot of big chunks of concrete, so for anybody that would want to go, don't. It's a dangerous situation for you to go in and around that area by the Cypress superstructure. That's a story here, Matt, now from Highland Hospital.
All right, Sherry and Doug, thank you very much. And as soon as you have something new, call us back up. We'll get you right on the air.
Okay, Matt.
Right now, we're going to Lieutenant Jim Molinari of the San Francisco Fire Department. He's on the phone at the Hall of Justice Command Center. Jim? Well, once again, we are having problems with our phone system. It comes in and it goes throughout the evening. Doug was mentioning the collapse of the roadway at the cantilever on the Bay Bridge. We've been showing you pictures of that. We now have some amateur video of a car falling into the collapsed part of the bridge right after it happened. The witness says the cars were sent through by Caltrans after the quake. We can't confirm that, of course, but that's what we were told by someone who was on the scene. You can see they didn't have a clue. The surprise is that they couldn't see what had happened. Now that must be the car that we saw from Dick Terry, the Channel 10 photographer that we saw up close just a little while ago. This is what happened leading up to that. the thought was that they had been trapped when the collapse occurred, that they had driven in, but now it looks like they had just driven on much after the collapse. Back here, Craig Miller is with us, and
one possible explanation for our difficulties we're having with our phone links tonight. We were able to reach Pacific Bell, and the news is mostly good, but the one thing they specifically asked us to pass on to you is perhaps the most difficult thing to ask of you right now, and that is, please don't use the telephone unless it's an urgent, essential, I would almost say emergency phone call. Here's the reason. The phone company itself has lost electrical power and is running the phone system right now with emergency generator power. It is sufficient to keep the phone system going in a minimal sort of way, but not if everybody is using the phone to try to let their loved ones around the country know that they are okay, which of course is among your first thoughts. The phone company did incur some building and facility damage itself. No estimate on that, but they say the switching network is largely intact, and phone system, phone service will be maintained as long as everybody doesn't try to use the phone at once.
So it's the best possible scenario of a worst case
they
situation.
Came through it. And another a bit of good news, this one from PG&E. We updated that situation a few minutes ago. PG&E says now that the gas line distribution system, and this is critical in the aftermath of an earthquake, came through largely unscathed. That most of the problem will be with the electrical distribution system. They have over 100,000 miles of electrical lines around Northern California, many miles of those in the Bay Area, and they as yet have no estimate of when power will be restored.
Well, that note just came in, so you might want to read that.
This says that from PG&E again that we should not expect gas, electric, or water service to be restored for at least 72 hours. Well, this is the figure that is usually bandied about by experts when they're trying to predict the aftermath of a major earthquake. When they say major day, they usually base their estimates on history and an 8 magnitude earthquake, which of course we should point out this was not. This was, what, a 6.9?
Well, possibly a 7, but certainly not nearly as strong as an 8.
Much smaller than an 8. And I'm not certain if that information handed me was an estimate based on those previous kind of thumbnail, sketches that they've done on the aftermath of an earthquake, or if that's an actual estimate. But 72 hours is the rule of thumb in a situation like that.
And with any luck, at least some of the service will be restored before that. But we better be prepared for that to be the case.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Craig.
We understand that we do want to take a look briefly at what happened on Wall Street today. You know, in
the other big story.
Shifted to another market, the currency market. After picking up in value over the past few weeks, the American dollar dropped today.
Everyone's a little worried. It's a skittish market in general.
Worried by more bad economic news. The U.S. trade deficit rose in August to $10.75 billion.
Well, there's lots of emergency things going on. Dick Cable with Jennifer Smith in the KXTV studios. This is KXTV Channel 10, Sacramento, Stockton, Modesto. We've been watching the KPIX live broadcast anchored by Dave McElhatton out of San Francisco for the past half hour or so. Those are the most live and direct pictures to bring you of exactly what's going on.
And throughout the evening, we'll be switching back and forth between our coverage here in Sacramento and then going down to the Bay Area and KPIX. We have Tom Marshall standing by at the...
Or where they might be getting deployed in the early stages of this disaster. Lieutenant Governor Leo McCarthy, we understand, is touring the area by helicopter right now and should have a press briefing over in the Bay Area sometime later this evening. Again, Governor Deukmejian is in West Germany. He has been appraised of the situation. Dick, Jennifer?
And we understand that he'll be returning to California just as soon as travel arrangements can be made for him.
I don't know if Tom's still there and can hear us, but we might go back to him for just a second if we can to ask you about those... No, we can't. All right, I wanted to know more about the fire strike crews and see what specifically... all right, Tom, can you tell us anything more about those fire strike crews and what kinds of fires are they being sent to deal with? Do you know that?
That we don't have. All we have is that they have been requested in one area and they are standing by. They have also been deployed to the San Jose and Oakland areas. They are CDF crews. They're trained to handle everything from structure fires to forest fires. And in some cases, they're being deployed just to in anticipation of fires due to the ruptured gas leaks and so forth throughout the Bay Area.
All right, thanks, Tom. We do have some information out of Hollister from the California Highway Patrol officer who reports that a J.C. Penney building in downtown Hollister and a bridge on Highway 101 in Hollister have collapsed. That's right near the quake's epicenter, so there's plenty of damage that we're not we're only beginning to get reports on now that may be very serious.
And some of the information that we reported earlier as far as shopping centers are concerned, a shopping mall collapsed in San Jose. Rescuers are still there on the scene trying to dig through the rubble. And also as far as fatalities, we know that 6 people were crushed to death when part of an old 4-story brick building collapsed on Bluxom Street in San Francisco onto their cars. And we also know there is a confirmed fatality. Someone was killed when the portion of the Oakland Bay Bridge collapsed.
And regarding that, if you were watching the coverage as we joined it at KPIX, you know that our own cameraman, Dick Terry, was on the Bay Bridge, stuck in the traffic, essentially, as the bridge collapsed, as the earthquake hit, on his way to cover events surrounding the World Series, which Game 3 has been canceled. Dick was on the span, got out of his vehicle and went and took some very dramatic photographs from both the cantilever and the lower section, and showed the vehicles, one that had fallen from the upper section down below. You saw the amateur video of one of the cars that drove right into the depression there, and apparently that may have been connected to the fatality. Now, pictures of fires.
Look at this fire. And let's see if we can hear from KPIX or CBS of the location of this fire.
Right, that was Dan Rather. We picked up the end of a piece there, but it's obvious that in some cases fuel-fed, probably gas-fed fires are raging in certain areas of San Francisco. Other fires have been reported in the East Bay as well.
We're going back to that right now. Again, here are the pictures of the fire in San Francisco. We believe it's in the Marina District, but let's listen in on Dan Rather.
A fire of this size that a lot of people have been displaced. Where are they going? I'm really not sure. They had, there was a lot of emergency relief. Red Cross people were there and available. We were on the scene. Now, we did get word, and this is not confirmed, but we did have word from an eyewitness, a doctor, who was on the scene and said that at least one woman did perish in this fire. He and several other people went into one of the homes and tried to rescue her, and they were not able to get her out. As we added a little while ago, they are supposedly drawing water from San Francisco Bay. That's right. The pressure that they have so that they can pump it. There's a terrible water pressure problem there, and I did hear one of the battalion chiefs, I overheard him saying, we're trying to draw water out of the bay. Now, I don't know how successful they've been. Quite frankly, when we were there, it was a pitiful effort, and that's no reflection on the fire department. These people are risking life and limb, but water mains are cracked in the area. The damage is really almost beyond belief to some of these buildings. There are literally 3-story buildings that have been just reduced to rubble. In some cases, there's just 1 story left standing on the ground. And there is room for it to spread? Well, it is spreading. In fact, just in the brief period that we were there, it spread to several other buildings adjoining those involved in the fire. And by the time I left, firefighters were basically reduced to backing up and trying to douse buildings in the neighborhood to prevent them from also becoming engulfed in this fire. They were even at one point spraying cars in the area because, again, the heat is so intense that I think they just fear this spontaneous combustion with the gasoline. Now, there's also word that gas mains are broken in the area, and of course that is a terrible fear because if the heat gets to a certain point and the gas mains erupt, who knows what kind of explosion could result from that. Now, on this tape, and I hope we're able to find it, we do have some descriptions from eyewitnesses. There was one gentleman, in fact, a doctor, who tried to go into one of these houses, as I described, and rescue people. There were several people rescued. This one fellow, the doctor, said he was driving down to Visadero, and suddenly, he said the buildings just started collapsing like matchbooks. Like matchbox homes into the street. That this area, the Marina area, as well as where we sit over on Embarcadero, or on Battery near the Embarcadero, these areas are all built on landfill, and there's a process called liquefaction, which takes place during an earthquake on this landfill, and the water actually comes to the surface, and the ground turns to liquid, and there's a fear. Let me get your full name for
underneath.